Get ready to reimagine the future of humanity and unlock your true potential. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, hosted by Dr. David Gruder, an internationally renowned integrative psychologist, human potential expert, author, and social change catalyst, as he delves into the most urgent issues of our time. With the world facing unprecedented challenges and social and political divides growing deeper, it's time to take action. Each episode of this groundbreaking series will empower you with invaluable insights, strategies, and tools to heal these divisions and restore personal freedom and societal well-being. Whether you're a concerned citizen, a courageous leader, an influential figure, or an ambitious entrepreneur, Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will guide you on a transformative journey. Discover your unique role in creating a brighter future for yourself and society at large. Dr. David Gruder will draw upon his extensive knowledge and experience to provide practical solutions for shaping the world we live in. With his passionate exploration of social change, he will help you navigate through the complexities of our time and inspire you to make a meaningful impact. So, prepare yourself for an eye-opening experience as we delve deep into the heart of the matter. Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will challenge your perspectives, ignite your imagination, and equip you with the tools you need to reimagine and redefine the world around you. The time to transform our future is now. Join us on this incredible journey and enter a new era of possibility. For more information on Dr. David Gruder and the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, visit www.rhfy.ca. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, where together, we create a brighter tomorrow. Now, here is the host of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, Dr. David Gruder.
Well, welcome back to the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours show on the CanCom Broadcast Network, proudly broadcasting from Canada to the world. I'm your host, Dr. David Gruder, the futurist, polymath of human potential, and civilizational architect who equips leading-edge leaders, influencers, helping professionals, and you with vital resources that make it possible for humanity's most spiritually elevated future to at last emerge. The title of this episode is Reimagining Humanity Beyond Division Consciousness: Why Humanity's Greatest Illusion of Separation is Holding Us Back. Much of humanity operates from what could be called division consciousness, a mindset that perceives us as fundamentally separate from one another. That perception fuels polarization, unnecessary suffering, and the persistent feeling that we are isolated individuals navigating a fragmented world. But what if that perception is incomplete? In this episode, we'll explore the possibility of unity consciousness and an expanded way of understanding ourselves and one another that honors both our individuality and our deep interconnectedness, instead of focusing on either at the expense of the other. We'll examine the human obstacles that keep us trapped in division consciousness and how cultivating presence, embodiment, compassion, and non-attachment can help transmute our inner lives while opening the door to a more harmonious shared future. My guest who will lead us through this vitally valuable exploration is Dr. Chorkoff Hops, a licensed psychologist with a master's and doctorate in clinical psychology and a diplomate in comprehensive energy psychology. She's also a former president of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, known as ACEP, for which I was the founding president. For decades, Lori has been teaching professionals and the general public about topics such as unity consciousness, embodied intuition, grounding, spirituality, and compassionate relating. She's also a certified logosynthesis practitioner and instructor and a Reiki master. Lori hosts the podcast Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides, where she's interviewed more than 60 guests as of us recording this episode, including me twice, on topics such as becoming Homo Spiritus and creativity in the service of love. Her work focuses on helping people move beyond the illusion of separation and into a deeper experience of interconnectedness, presence, and compassion. And Lord knows the world can use a lot more of that. Lori, I'm delighted to have you here. Welcome.
Hello, David. It's so good to see you here, and thank you so much for inviting me to this interview today. It's truly an honor.
Well, the feelings are mutual. I'm delighted to have you here. In this first segment, we'll look at the symptoms and challenges people have that are clues alerting them that they've become imprisoned in society's illusion of separation. But before we delve into that, Lori, please let us know a little bit about how your passion about unity consciousness first emerged.
Well, David, I feel that all of us were born into unity consciousness and that we've learned how to focus maybe more on division than is necessary. Division is part of life. We learn about mathematical division in school, and we need to make categories and comparisons. But I think we all have a lot more in common with each other than we realize. And there's such a focus on the polarities, the differences, the contrasts, rather than the coming together. And so this has always been a struggle that I've had within myself and that I've seen in the outside world. But it really came together in a way that I could find a way to work with it only recently in my life. And so I can tell you a brief story about that if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was being told that it's better to receive than to give, which is kind of the opposite of what we're raised to believe, that it's better to give than to receive. And when I looked at that more closely, it seems that it's better to give than to receive is based on the idea that there's not enough to go around, that people don't actually have access to more, and that there's a win-lose scenario going on. And I'd never really looked at it that way. And so I realized that if I really wanted to believe that there is infinite ability and that the universe has my back and that things tend to work out eventually in our favor, that there's love kind of underneath everything, that I needed to start to look more towards unity than I had been. And so that kind of got the ball rolling with this.
Yes. I'm so glad that you brought that vignette into this, because I agree with you. The belief that it's better to give than receive, or to receive than to give, is a form of what I refer to as spiritual reciprocity blocking, that we're meant to be in reciprocal relationship with each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's always moments, of course, when we have lack or we have abundance. But when you go around thinking that something has to lose in order for something to win, it actually robs us of, I think, a bigger, truer reality about being carried in a basic level underneath the seeming struggles that we all go through and the suffering.
So true. And thank you for that brief glimpse into your heart, passion, and spirit, Lori. From your perspective, what are the most visible signs that humanity is operating from what you call division consciousness?
Well, I would say that it's the pandemic of loneliness and separation that we seem to be in, not being connected enough to community, an us against them mentality, feeling like there's hopelessness or that we're stuck, that there aren't adequate solutions in the moment to help us, that maybe that someone is going to come rescue us, and that until then we need to sort of wait or be passive or fight it out on our own. We're not really being taught how to come together in ways that recognize our differences and give us a clear path towards connecting despite them.
You just said a mouthful, and I love that you have. I want to really unpack that a little bit. So what you said, of course, is that there's a pandemic of loneliness and separation, and I'm not sure we need to unpack that. I'm pretty sure our audience understands that, and the us versus them the mentality. The the notion of waiting for a rescuer, I think, is a really important one for us to just say a couple more words about, because while people recognize that, I don't think that waiting dynamic is well enough understood. So, can you say a little bit more about waiting for a rescuer?
I think that it's probably found throughout the world in our liturgies, in our fables, in our cultural expectations, and certainly in the way that we're raised as children. That those who are wiser, older, more mature, have more power or insight will take care of things. And it's a comforting thought when you're feeling vulnerable or lost or insecure or confused. It takes a lot of courage and personal responsibility and willingness to take risks to break that down and say, I'm going to be here with my people, with my resources in an imperfect way that's confusing and unclear about how to proceed and may wind up making things worse. And I'm going to go forward anyway in an attempt to shift the dynamic. I think also we've been told to put aside our personal power because either it can do harm or it's inappropriate or no one has invited us or we're not even sure how to go about that. There's a lot of cooperation and also passivity in the favor of our values, of people who have the loudest voice. So many dynamics that don't allow us to step forward into solutions,
Mhm.
maybe even within our own lives, let alone collectively. And
Yeah,
there's not a lot of education for that.
right.
How do you even work collaboratively? How do you work towards solutions? How do you work with trial and error and the discomfort of trying things that might blow up?
Right, right. So what what you're illuminating, part of what you're illuminating is what's commonly called, as you know, in psychology, learned helplessness.
Yes.
Nothing I do, positive or negative, makes any impact in the world. So why bother? Somebody else is going to have to fix the problems for me. And also, what you alluded to was what I refer to as power phobia, where people often are afraid to step into healthy versions of personal power because the only models of power they've been exposed to are dysfunctional or tyrannical misuses of power. Would
Yes,
you agree with that?
I would. And I also think we have the notion of who am I to make a change? How much
Hmm.
impact can I actually have? And the people who do are heroes or heroines, or they have special birthright, or they've been given status or permission, or they have more money or resources, something like this. And it's scary to take on change, especially it means you have to face your own conflicts and shadows and be willing to
Hmm.
be exposed maybe as a fraud or um, being power hungry or being stupid. you know
Yeah.
why do you
Yeah.
think you're so special, or who put you in charge, or do you think you're boss? Like there's a lot of messages that hold people back.
Yes, for sure. And you've mentioned a couple of other symptoms that I want to reiterate before we wrap up this particular segment of this episode, which is that we we aren't taught collaboration competence. We aren't taught how to weave our differences and our commonalities together, so our differences make our common interests richer instead of dividing us. And you also mentioned fear of change. If I change, uh, if I transcend or move beyond who I think I am, I won't know who I am. I may have to face parts of my shadow, parts of myself that I've put into hiding, and that fear leads to a kind of rigidity that, as you know, I refer to as paradigm attachment disorder.
Yes.
So these are really important symptoms. And the rest of this episode is going to dive into the root causes of those symptoms that you, Lori, and I have just discussed, and what to look for in a solution. And then in the final segment, your version of that solution, Lori. So after a brief break, my guest, Unity Consciousness Trailblazer Dr. Lori Hops, and I will dig beneath the surface to expose the root causes of the divisiveness symptoms we just discussed. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future in Yours show on the CanCom Broadcast Network, proudly broadcasting from Canada to the world. And stay tuned because we're just getting started. Welcome back. Before the break, my guest, Unity Consciousness advocate Lori Hops, and I discussed symptoms of division in our world that most people are aware of. And in this segment, as you know, we'll delve into less recognized, deeper dynamics that produce those symptoms. So, Lori, what deeper patterns and dynamics are actually driving the symptoms we just discussed?
Well, I think some of it is deliberate unbalancing of personal power and collective ability to make changes in the world. But some of it is more subtle and maybe self-imposed, just out of what I would gently call ignorance, means not knowing more. You don't know what you don't know. And so we've talked already about, that it's better to give than to receive, that there's a lack, that there's hierarchies of people having more or less, like that there's a belief of, let's say, a dog eat dog world, that competition or aggression is the default, that we're more different than alike, that the universe maybe doesn't have our back. But there's also this notion of not fighting reality. And this was a big personal lesson that I've come to more recently in my life. We spend a lot of time wishing, hoping, and dreaming, maybe having regrets, not wanting to be with things as they are. And although that can be natural and maybe even good because it allows us to think about possibilities that aren't here right now, if we spend too much time fighting reality as it is or denying it, you can't really work with it. It's like if you decide that there's a bridge to cross in front of you, but you don't like the way the bridge is built, you're not going to cross the bridge and get to the other side if you fight the fact that you don't like it. So we complain about, the state of the world and the way things are, or things that we want to change about ourselves or others, or disappointments that we have or hopes. But oftentimes that drains energy away from looking at reality as it is, accepting it at its own terms, and then freeing up energy to make changes. You can't make a change with something that you haven't already first faced. Is that clear to you?
Yes, it is. It is clear to me. And in case it's not clear to everyone who's listening to this, I think that what you're pointing out is that when we're over invested in either our wishing or our hoping or our dreaming or in our regrets or in victim consciousness or whatever limiting belief system we've got, like dog eat dog world or the universe doesn't have our back, it leads to a kind of complaining, if you will, that's about fighting reality, not not seeing things as they are. And if we don't see things as they currently are, how can we build effective bridges from where we are to where we want to go? Is
Yes,
that the
thank you.
point that you're making?
Beautifully stated. And so it could be as simple as I stubbed my toe and I'm mad about it and I wish I hadn't. But if I'm spending too much time on the suffering, then I'm not going to have as much time and energy to notice the solutions. So
Yes.
part of the work that I do is helping people release their stuck energy in spaces that don't serve them, usually based on regrets or reminiscence about the past, or daydreaming about a future that isn't here yet, or worrying about the future. And we can't then access the here and now with the resources that really are right in front of us.
Yeah.
And so that'll get into the next segment about solutions. But
Yes.
I think that fighting reality is a big thing. And then the other is to not embrace your shadow. So the shadow, I know you speak a lot about. For those who don't know, it's anything that is hidden from yourself. And oftentimes these are things that are negative or perceived as negative about yourself or the world that you rather not know, you don't really want to admit. They're usually cloaked in shame or in fear. You don't want to face this part of yourself. But if you can find ways in to soften that and to come more into a vulnerable space with who you are and how the world is, even though it can be brutal, there is a peacefulness that can come from that. You're not fighting yourself. You're coming into the truth of what is, and it can be incredibly liberating. It can also lead to tremendous insights, to guilt, to feeling stuck or paralyzed temporarily. But eventually, it's sort of another example of facing reality.
Yes.
Having a
Yes.
more expanded view of what truly is real.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we're getting deeper now into root causes, which some other dimensions you just added to the list have to do with our being stuck in energy, not knowing how to release stuck energy that's based in regrets or worries or daydreaming. And then what you were just touching on is us not embracing and becoming conversant with our shadow, where a, a lot of shame or fear is causing us to fight ourselves. And what I want to add about that is when you said shame and fear, I want to unpack that a little further because there is our leaden shadow and our golden shadow, meaning lead meaning the alchemy metaphor, turning lead into gold. Leaden shadow is the parts of us that we've decided or have been told are negative, so that we are supposed to hide those parts of ourselves from the world and from ourselves oftentimes too. Golden shadow is parts of our light, parts of our brilliance, parts of how we can make a positive difference that we have learned are too much for the people around us. So we put those parts of our light into hiding as well.
Yes, thank you for saying that. That has always been my perspective, and it's been challenged by psychoanalysts who say that it's only the dark shadow, not the light shadow. But I think that it's anything that is pushed away. And so the idea of competition with someone else, you think you're better than I am, or don't shine too brightly, you're going to make people jealous, or you can't be that powerful, you're a threat. Or just even accepting love can sometimes be a feeling of bitterness because of when you didn't have it, or that it gets you in touch with your grief or your loss or your feelings of isolation. So things that can look golden and beautiful and loving and wonderful can actually have a bitterness to them, or um, you're told somehow that it's not safe.
Yes.
Connecting to someone else in a really authentic and vulnerable way can make you feel like you're open to being taken advantage of, for example, or harmed. So there's
Yes.
all kinds of ways that these things get twisted. It's not so black and white, or it's not so polarized.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're probably familiar with the old saying about love brings up everything unlike it. And that's what you're talking about
Yeah.
right now, which is
Yeah.
that when people experience love in the here and now, if they've not been used to experiencing that and letting it in, what experiencing love in the present will activate is grief over not having experienced it in our past.
And sometimes rage.
Grief
Yeah.
and rage. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it so difficult for people to acknowledge both the leaden and golden shadow within themselves?
I think we've been trained out of it. If you look into the, let's say, four-legged world or the winged world,
Yeah.
unless an animal or something has been guided into a human idea of, let's say, showmanship or breeding or something like that, or expectation in a home. But if you look in the wild, I don't really see a lot of those restrictions on self-expression. I'm sure they're there within, let's say, a pack or whatever with hierarchy, but in general, self-expression is a natural state of being.
Mm.
Um,
Well, that's a powerful statement, and it's worth underlining before you keep going.
yeah.
Self-expression is a natural state of being. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, our cultures have been designed to tip the flow of life energy towards certain goals. And it means that we can't have unbridled self-expression 24/7, at least in our current way of looking at things, because it's
Mhm.
hard to collaborate without a structure. So I think about, let's say, a beehive, and I don't know how much natural self-expression there are among bees, but they certainly have roles and goals and structure, and the honeycomb and the queen, and all these things that come together as community in a collaborative process, as best we can tell by looking at them. And yet maybe each individual also contains its own self-expression and how it flies to the flowers and comes back and creates communication amongst each other to get the hive to work as as one. So I think that there's room for more creative self-expression, with collaboration than we give ourselves credit for. There's, I
Mhm.
think, a mentality of fear that's like you can't have too much of that stuff, or else it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket.
Right. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to interview a queen bee or a bunch of worker bees in a future episode to find out. But I think what you're pointing out is something that is another root cause that's a societal root cause, and
Mhm.
it has to do with your statement about unbridled self-expression without some amount of structure makes healthy community impossible. And what it seems to me that an awful lot of people have either not learned or learned at one time and have forgotten since then because of societal messaging is that the experiment, the audacious experiment of societies that view themselves as free societies, is the experiment in which we're challenged to harmonize personal freedom and the common good, or what I call self sovereignty and collective well being, rather than pitting one of those against the other.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
Yeah. And so after the upcoming short break, we'll get to the heart of the matter, which is what to look for in a real solution that boosts our capacity for unity consciousness. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future in Your show on the CanCom Broadcast Network, proudly broadcasting from Canada to the world. And stay right where you are, because what to look for in a solution to all of this morass and stress and tension and withholding and lack of community, what to look for in a solution to all of that is up next. And we're back. Before the break, a shining example of embodying and facilitating unity consciousness, Dr. Lori Hops and I delved into less recognized but vitally important root causes of division consciousness, both internally and societally. And as I mentioned in this segment, we'll reveal ingredients to look for when you're considering resources to use in helping you deepen and elevate your unity consciousness. So, Lori, if humanity is going to move beyond division consciousness, it probably won't happen simply by adopting good intentions and inspiring ideas. From your perspective, what would need to change internally for individuals and collectively for humanity so that we can genuinely shift toward unity consciousness? And what would a solution need to include for us to make this shift?
Oh, these are such important questions. I certainly don't have the answers for all of us, but I can let you know some things that have helped me try to navigate this, and it may be helpful for our guests, for our listeners. So one of them is, do you truly feel that there's something big enough to hold everything? Whether that's love or faith or the existence or power of the life force energy or God concept, or will, or even just the fact that life continues, just by observing the facts that death comes and life comes and that the cycle keeps going. Something's pushing this. If you don't feel like there's something big enough to contain everything, I think you're always going to feel like there's something coming at you, or that the other shoe can drop, or that you aren't on stable ground, really, as a foundational belief. So people have different names for this: love, harmony, peace, equanimity, non-local consciousness, maybe unity. I don't know. You have to find your own belief structure that resonates with you. Truth, whatever it is, if you can connect to that, you can exhale. And what I mean by that is that there's a gripping, a lack of trust that can melt away. Because you feel like everything is either it has a reason or it's going to continue one way or another, with or without you. And there's sort of a relief in that, because it takes away this ultra sense of responsibility that if you don't figure it out, or if you aren't on the right side, whatever, that it's all going to crumble. So
the first ingredient is that we're looking for a resource that can help us in the process of opening up to more fully feeling and trusting that there's something big enough to hold everything. We've got to find our own word and belief structure for that. But without that, we're not ever going to feel on stable ground. We're not going to be able to exhale.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
So that's the first ingredient to look for, is a resource that helps us open up to that more fully.
Right. Because that creates safety. And with safety, then you can explore new possibilities. If you don't have that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this creates true safety, because what I often say is that everyone actually has something that they treat as though it's their higher power. They have, all of us have a central frame of reference from which we derive meaning and make decisions and ultimately speak and act. And that central set of beliefs is a set of beliefs that either constricts us and limits us and provides us with a kind of a false sense of safety, or we open up to expanding our vision of what that central focus, that central source of meaning is, into something that's transcendent. If I can use a word that actually Maslow talked about. You know, a lot of people don't know this, Lori, but a lot of people who are familiar with Abraham Maslow and his needs pyramid, the top of the pyramid that most people are aware of is self-actualization. But toward the end of his life, Maslow started to talk about a stage beyond self-actualization that he called self-transcendence.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's ingredient number one. What's another ingredient that you would recommend that people look for in a solution?
Well, I think it refers to the second idea I want to bring in, you referred to already, is embodiment in the here and now, or presence. So our point of power is in the here and now. When we're distracted by the past or the future, we're not fully here. But you can't generally activate change in the past. You can revise it and deal with it and understand it more differently, but we really can't. We don't spend our time in time travel in the past, changing the past, nor do we truly focus all of our attention into the future that hasn't yet manifest. We live in a probable reality of things that can come and go into and out of existence, but it's all within the present. Now, time, I believe, is a linear construct that humanity has created and is part of our world in the 3D reality. And outside of that, there is no time. But we have the illusion that we are moving past, present, future, or some combination thereof, depending upon your cultural view. If you want to connect to eternity, you have to do it from the present moment. And the best way to do that is to be in your own body. And you can say, well, how can you not be in your own body? But what I mean is by integrating your consciousness, your awareness, your sense of identity inside the physicality of your being, and not stick in your head only, or ignore, or distort, or cut yourself off from the here and now, the present moment focus.
Well, this is really delicious. So the second ingredient to look for is help with strengthening our presence and embodiment in the here and now, and making that presencing and embodiment more consistent in our daily moment to moment life. Because the paradox that you're pointing out is that being more fully in our own body, presencing to our own body in helpful ways, is paradoxically the doorway to connecting with eternity.
Yes. And we have a lot of blocks to being in our bodies that you have to work through. And it helps when you have that sense that the universe has your back while doing it, because it can be very daunting. But it doesn't have to be. It can be really delightful, and it can be simple. I connect with breath most easily because it's free and transportable. And as far as I know, I haven't gone without it for very long. So it's a stable companion. So there's lots of different ways of working with embodiment in the here and now. But I would say presence is very important. Without it, then you're more fractured.
Yes. Great. Is there a third ingredient for people to look for in a solution as well?
Yes. One of them is non-attachment to outcome. So it's really important to know where you're heading so that you have some sort of coherent vision or view. But then it's also important to not grasp to that, because oftentimes you're cutting off something better, even that can come along, something more elegant, something that is beyond your ability to know. And it may not show up right away or the way you hope or think, but in the long run, your highest good can be attained when you actually let go of the thing that you're asking for. So to have a neutral, so to have a desire for something, try to create it as richly as you can, and then let it go. It's going to, it's like you're pushing it on down the hill, and you're not trying to drive it down the hill. You're letting it create the path that it needs to take. And that takes a lot of trust. And also to try to like let go of your grasp for desires or fears. That's not an easy thing, but the closer you can get to that, the better.
Right. So another thing to look for is ways to develop the muscle of non-attachment to outcomes inside of knowing, letting yourself know where you most want to head, and while remaining open to the possibility that something even better than that might emerge. And so this whole kind of delicate balance, or not delicate balance, but harmony between what Stephen Covey talked about, begin with the end in mind, which I think is almost on track. I would say begin with the best possible end in mind, and work toward that, whatever that is for you, while being unattached to the outcome, because our job is to just simply do our best to know where we most want to head and remain open to the possibility that something even better might emerge, and where we just allow the outcome to reveal itself from there.
Yes, and that can include lessons and blessings.
Yes.
You might get your lead and go, this isn't the gift I wanted. I wanted the gold. But you're part of a bigger story. We all are, and we have to work. We don't know the mechanisms of how it all happens, how you meet who you do when you do, and all the rest, and what you need to go through. Oftentimes, if you have pain in your life, you look back, you say, but without that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have learned these important lessons, even though there was suffering. And there is, if we have time, there is one more I'd like to mention.
We have time for you to mention it in a brief form, but go ahead and do it.
It's the idea that from emptiness, all is possible. And so if you connect to the world of things and matter, that is helpful, but not the total picture. If you can connect to emptiness, or the eternal, or infinity, this is from which all things arise and fall. It's kind of connected to non-attachment to outcome, but it's an even bigger concept. So we don't have time to do that one justice. I'm sure you could do a whole podcast just on emptiness.
Oh, we certainly could. And yet it's important to me that you brought in this other ingredient, which is that a resource to help us with this, with unity consciousness, is one that helps us become comfortable entering into emptiness, entering into the real version of the void, because that's what creates the space for new stuff to come in, for infinity to become possible, for the eternal to become accessible,
and for the decay and the corrupt to disintegrate.
And when that happens, what's decayed and corrupt disintegrates. Good. That's beautiful. And so with that, after our upcoming break, we'll return for this episode's final segment, during which I'll be asking Dr. Lori Hops to reveal how she provides the unity consciousness up-leveling ingredients we just unpacked. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future in Your show on the CanCom Broadcast Network, and we'll return shortly. Well, before the break, Unity Consciousness Catalyst. I just gave you a new moniker, Lori. Unity Consciousness Catalyst. Dr. Lori Hops and I unpacked ingredients to look for when you want to more fully live from unity consciousness. As I already mentioned during this final segment of this episode called Reimagining Humanity Beyond Division Consciousness, Why Humanity's Greatest Illusion of Separation is Holding Us Back, Lori will reveal how she provides what we suggested in the last segment that you look for. I'll then let you know how to access her great ways of facilitating this. And after that, we'll each share something about what we hope you've gained from this episode, followed by my closing comments. So, Lori, you've spent decades helping people cultivate a deeper experience of unity consciousness through your teaching, clinical work, and community gatherings, and your podcast, too. From those tuning into this episode who sense that humanity is capable, and they are capable, of living beyond the illusion of separation, what practical pathways do you provide for helping people move from division consciousness toward unity consciousness in their daily lives?
Well, I don't know that I can offer anything.
You can offer emptiness, right?
So I can for sure offer suggestion. And suggestion is for the listener to tap in to their best next step, whatever that is. That might be working with me online or in person, or signing up for courses. But I offer that. I offer how to ground and embodiment and using intuition, and courses on unity consciousness, and even a community.
And I'll say more about that for you in a little while.
Yeah, but I would say that there's something that you heard today that made you either stop or to connect. And I would say go back to that and figure out what was that made you stop and pause or connect through your body, connect through an association, through an emotional or intellectual aha. Get curious about whatever it was that was personal for you. Even if it's something that you were like, oh, that was awful, or I don't agree with that, or something that woke you up to a reaction. There is wisdom underneath that reaction. That is sort of like a piece of wisdom that floated up to the top of your consciousness that is asking you to dig a little deeper, to ask more questions, to be a little bit more present. And then from there, if you don't know what it is, ask for help, whether that's from another person or from a book or reaching out to someone or asking for a dream or doing some writing about it, or just asking even for a prayer to please let me see and understand more deeply, why was I connecting to this piece of information or this moment? Because you were drawn to this conversation for a reason, and it's an invitation for you to grow in a new direction. That's my hunch.
Mm-hmm. What you've just said is absolute gold, and you're the first guest that I've had that has actually made this suggestion, which I think is brilliant. And that is, as you've been listening to this conversation, be aware of whatever you heard that perked up your ears, either because it drew you, it opened up something in you, or even because you resisted it, you rebelled against it, you pushed back on it. And whatever that is from this episode, go back to that segment, re-listen to it, and connect in a deeper way so that you get curious about what caused that reaction inside you, and then dig deeper into what was behind that reaction. And if you don't know what that deeper piece is, then ask for help, either from within you or from your version of higher wisdom and or from outer resources. That's solid gold, Lori.
Thank you. It's how I operate in the world. So I'm glad that you find value in it too. But it's the thing that allows me to be more of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I find a
Yes.
lot of it, when I connect to the world the way you just described, I often find that what I first need to do is to let go of something that isn't mine, whether it's a belief or a misunderstanding or ignorance on my part. And I'm able to come back to some kind of a truth that feels more fully my own, almost as if this is a big scavenger hunt on the planet and we're constantly looking for lost pieces of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
buried treasures.
Right. And so what you're really pointing out here, beyond even the specific tip for how to utilize this episode, is about paying deeper attention to our reactions, to what things we're exposed to that feel like they open us up, or things that we're exposed to that we push back against, so that we can delve into into those reactions by paying deeper attention to those things in order to metabolize the wisdom that our reaction to those things actually contains.
Yes. And in doing so, that's a great recipe for any kind of growth, including unity consciousness and moving away from division. You know, specifically if people want to work on that aspect of it, division to unity, I would say pay attention in the next week or so to things that come up for you that you hadn't noticed before around this topic, where you find yourself thinking about it or hearing something or a song on the radio or whatever it is, some kind of an intuitive hit that ties you back to something from this interview.
Mhm.
And that is like the breadcrumbs, I think, for your next steps, whatever that might be.
Beautiful. You've really mapped out how to how to recognize and attend to those breadcrumbs. Before I say something on your behalf about your resources, just in a very brief, quick nutshell, what do you say? What do you think becomes possible for humanity when enough of us individuals begin to make the shifts we've been talking about in this episode? What happens to humanity? What becomes possible?
I think we become a better version of ourselves. It's almost like getting an upgrade, a reboot, and being like the beloved of the day,
Mm,
but together. And I only see it enhancing the potential for life together on the planet and in the universe, an
mhm.
expanded consciousness that's
Yes,
more
that
refined and healthier.
that enhancement is so much what I think people individually and we collectively are yearning for. So as we move toward the close of this episode in a number of minutes, I want to say that um, one of the things that you've been emphasizing, Lori, is that unity consciousness isn't just a philosophy. It's something that becomes clearer and more embodied through experience and practice. And so, for those of you who would like to explore these ideas more deeply, I want you to know that Lori offers both online and in person classes focused on cultivating unity consciousness and helping people work with their past, future, and present in a more integrated way. And she also offers individual and group learning experiences for those interested in deeper personal and collective development. If you'd like a simple place to begin, Lori hosts a podcast I mentioned at the top of this episode called Healing Tips from the Heart, where she explores intuition, healing, and spiritual development with a wide range of guests. You'll find all of Lori's resources on the various pages at her main website, which is drlorihops.com. That's DRLORIHOPS, drlorihops.com. Lori, as humanity begins to grow beyond the challenges we've been discussing in this episode and into the solution you've recommended, what becomes possible that is currently invisible to us?
I don't know.
Perfect.
Because it's currently invisible.
There it is. So what becomes possible is the ability to enter into the mystery and stay in that mystery with grace, with in a state of what I call grounded transcendence. So, really being able to relish being in the mystery. And with that, I want to say again, discover all of the marvelous resources that Dr. Lori Hops provides and get in touch with her through the contact page on her website, which again is drlorihops.com, drlorihops.com. Thank you so very much, Lori, for helping us illuminate the profound value of stepping out of separation consciousness and more fully into unity consciousness, and some hidden keys for elevating into it, and for being here on my show.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I wish everyone their next best step, whatever that is.
Oh, I know you do. I know you do. And you are such a person of service in the world in those ways, which is why I wanted you on the show. And thank you all for joining me for this episode of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours on the CanCom Broadcast Network, proudly broadcasting from Canada to the world. Humanity's best future isn't something that simply happens to us. It's something we co-create through the consciousness, choices, and courage we bring to each moment. And that's why this show exists, to help each of us discover and live into our unique role in helping to bring that future into being. This has been Dr. David Gruder, the futurist polymath of human potential and civilizational architect who equips leading edge leaders, influencers, and you with frameworks and skills to make it possible for humanity's most spiritually elevated future to at last emerge. I invite you to explore my main website, drgruder.com. That's drgruder.com, where you'll find a link to watch or listen to all of this show's episodes, to my books and keynote offerings, and to the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty, which is helping to dissolve divisiveness by reuniting individuals, businesses, nations, and humanity so we can at last usher in the age of what I call spiritual self-sovereignty that serves us all. The world needs you. Your nation needs you. Your loved ones need you. You need you. So until next time, keep elevating your capacity to fulfill your highest calling, so together we succeed at building an elevated future for ourselves and for humanity.